Good evening, everyone. I will call the regular meeting of the City of Lacombe to order. It's their March 23rd regular meeting. The City of Lacombe acknowledges that we live, work, and govern on the shared territory of Treaty 6. We honor the histories, languages, cultures, and continuing contributions of the Cree, Saulteaux, Dene, Nakota Sioux, and other First Nations, as well as the Métis people of the Battle River Territory, District 3 and beyond. We affirm our ongoing relationship with this land and commit to the respectful and meaningful engagement with Indigenous peoples as partners in our community. We have our agenda ahead of us there, two different types, consent agenda and the regular agenda. First, dealing with the consent agenda. Do we have any amendments that need to be made to the consent agenda? Acting CAO Doug Halderson, please.
Thank you, Mayor Hibbs. I would like to add one to the CEO report.
Okay, so we will pull the CAO report from the consent agenda and address that separately. Are there any other items? Does not appear to be so. I will entertain a motion to adopt the consent agenda as amended. Councillor Contenti?
Yes, I move we adopt the consent agenda as amended.
Okay. No further comments on that. I would call the question. Please proceed to vote. Councillor Contenti.
Geez, I'm really off today.
And that is unanimous. So the consent agenda has been adopted with the exception of the one item. That one item will then go to our regular agenda. Are there any additions or corrections for our main agenda, or deletions for that matter? Councillor Dijkstag.
I'd like to make two notice of motions for our meeting. First, I'd like, just to add a notice of motion 1 and notice of motion 2. Do you need a reference to what each are, or just leave it at that for now?
That's good. We'll address it when we get to that section.
Thank
Just
you.
as the note that I have too. So we'll have a 7.1 and a 7.2. Does not appear to be anything further. I do not have anything to add. Could I get a motion to adopt the regular agenda as now amended? Councillor De Bresser.
Yeah, I move that council adopt the regular council agenda as amended.
Okay. No further lights. I'll call the question. Please proceed to vote. And that is unanimous. So the one item that we had pulled from the consent agenda then was the CAO report. Acting CAO Halderson, if you want to address that item, please.
Thank you, Mayor Hibbs. I received an email regarding a petition for the federal government to immediately suspend the termination of the staff at the Lacombe Research Centers. We'll have a link on our website and our social media for our residents and council to access that petition.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Acting CAO Halderson on that item? Does not appear to be so. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. So because we pulled that item out of the consent agenda, we now have to accept it. If somebody wishes to make that motion, that we recognize that we received that report. Councillor Goings.
I move that we accept the acting CAO report as information.
And as our tech just loves it when we do motions on the fly, we just have to wait for something in writing to match up to what we just moved. And there it is. So seeing no further notice for communication, I'll call the question. Please proceed to vote. And that is unanimous. Thank you. So that brings us then to our first portion of our meeting, which is presentations. And sorry, I've just misplaced a piece of paper because of course I did that. All right, first up we have the Lacombe District Rikibitsu Friendship Society. I would call Ms. McQueston to come up to the presenters table. There we go. That's Ms. McQueston. Yes, I saw that.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. And I also want to just introduce some of our members of our Friendship Society. And I'll ask them to stand. So Hiroshi Kota is going to be helping me. Isabel Weinman and Sharon Jackson, Rob Curiel, Linda Henderson, and Allie Parker.
Fantastic. Welcome to Chambers. So we've turned the microphone on for you. If you could just, it does bend. You can move the whole unit itself if it's more comfortable. It is on right now.
It is.
Yep. So it's live.
Super.
I would
Thank you.
invite you to take the floor, and we're looking forward to your presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for this opportunity because it's wonderful to share with you regarding this unique cultural and friendship experience that exists right here between Lacombe and Rikibitsu, Japan. Now, back in the 1980s, Alberta initiated a twinning program as the Conservative government of Peter Lougheed signed a twinning agreement with the prefecture of Hokkaido, Japan. Later, in 1986, Lacombe Mayor Charlie Budd and Rikibitsu Mayor Sugita signed a formal agreement to twin the two communities for the purpose of cultural understanding and exchange and to further develop friendship. There are other communities in Alberta that are also twinned, such as Rocky Mountain House, Stony Plain, Stettler, Jasper, to name a few. Now, about Rikibitsu. It is a smaller town, centrally located on the northern island of Hokkaido. Rikibitsu has two main industries, agriculture and forestry. And when I was visiting Rikibitsu, the surrounding countryside reminded me much of the BC Chilliwack area with lots of treed mountains and various agricultural crops being grown there. Of interest is that Rikibitsu also is known for its Space Earth Sciences Museum and Observatory. Rikibitsu was chosen for its lack of light pollution. The observatory has one of the largest telescopes in Japan. And when I looked through the lenses at the moon, it was as if I could reach out and touch the dust there. It was that close. It's pretty magnificent. The purpose of our organization is to fulfill the original agreement made in 1986. At that time, Mayor Budd and Council did the planning and organizing of various delegations that came to Lacombe from Rikibitsu. This task was then passed on to a group of people who were passionate about experiencing and learning about a different culture. And that's how I got involved. I actually, to give you background, did live in Japan for 2 years teaching English and had a very enriching experience. This was the beginning of the Lacombe and District Rikibitsu Friendship Society, and this was formed in the early 1990s. From the beginning, we have worked to promote the twinning of the two communities while strengthening our relationship of friendship and cultural exchange. Each year, Rikibitsu would send a delegation of junior high students to Lacombe. During their short stay of 5 days, our committee received funds from the city to plan and organize activities for the visiting students and also facilitate the homestays for the group. Homestays played a natural part in experiencing a different culture. This gives the participant, whether Japanese or Canadian, a broadening and learning experience of how real living happens, the differences and the similarities of two different cultures. Although the time spent together was really very short, it was always amazing to see the friendship ties that develop. One example was a man named Mr. Takuya Murata, and he was the astronomer and manager of the Rikibitsu Observatory. When saying goodbye, he wept, indicating his heartfelt emotion for the time we spent together. It was gratifying to know how deeply they appreciate our bond of friendship. As a society, we have promoted the friendship twinning agreement through participation in the Lacombe Days and Light Up the Night parades, Lacombe Trade Show, Harvest and Culture Festivals, and by providing and hosting workshops promoting Japanese art forms such as ikebana, flower arranging, shodo, calligraphy, origami, the paper folding, as well as sushi making. We are excited to inform you of the plans for the 40th anniversary of the twinning of our two communities, as well as being the host to the Alberta Japan Twinned Municipalities Conference. This is being held on May 22nd and 23rd at the LMC South Hall. Friday evening, we will formally celebrate the friendship anniversary with dignitaries' remarks, gift exchange, appetizers, and entertainment by the Flatiron Jazz Band. We want to give our guests from Rikibitsu, as well as the delegates of the conference, a warm welcome. Saturday morning, we will be showcasing our community to our delegates with presentations from local businesses, our museum, and a local artist. There is a business meeting that follows in the afternoon, but we want you, our guests, and the citizens of Lacombe to be treated to a Japanese drumming performance at 3 o'clock in the afternoon outside at the Echo Energy Stage area. So we wish to encourage you to attend any of these sessions and experience this unique cultural exchange. And if you have any questions, we'd be happy to try and answer them.
Just before that, thank you again for the Friendship Society for continuing to keep up this important relationship. And I know how important it is to the members of that committee and past committee members as well. I've had the good fortune of hosting students from Japan in my home, and it was a fabulous experience for both myself as well as my children at that time. And so I only have good things to say about it. Very excited that it's 40 years. Wow, is it 40 years already? And that I would love to see this relationship continue in the future. So I'm definitely in any support of anything that you need from me. Are there any questions from council for our presenter? Does not appear to be so. I know that those dates are on people's calendars, and if they're able to be there, I'm sure they will be, because this is something unique and special for our community. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, that does bring us then to our second presentation of this evening. It's the Downtown Area Redevelopment Plan Committee, or DARP Committee. And so I would invite Mr. Whitbread and Mr. Farsky up to the presenter table. Welcome.
Thank you.
You definitely know how to operate all of that. So that leaves it's all live. You're good to go.
Thank you very much, Mayor Hibbs, and hello to council and administration. My name is Joe Whitbread. I am the original and still chair of the DARP committee. I started in COVID years we don't like to talk about. Lots of meetings in Zoom. This is Chris Farsky, recently elected as my vice chair. Chris has been with our group now for over a year, longer even still.
Pushing 3 now.
I apologize. A long time. Chris and I have a great friendship and also a working relationship, along with some really, really great people that represent the downtown area redevelopment plan, or the colloquial version of DARP. So we're really grateful to present to you in Q1 what we did here through 2025 and through the first few months of winter. Also like to recognize we have committee members that are sitting with us in chamber today and following along online as well. So the presentation won't take too long here today. We have some reports from what we've done, some reports from a lot of the things in the past, and then some really exciting things that we hope to have council's help on as it comes to your desks in the near future weeks and months and even years ahead. So with that, Chris, do you mind operating the slide? Let's go that away. Perfect. So just to remind council, this is the mandate that was given to us. These rules and these governing committee laws, so to speak, have been given to us in 2023, but back in 2021, this was all developed for the very first time when the committee was put into place and implemented. Essentially, just a briefing on this, the DARP Advisory Committee is to provide guidance and recommendations to council and administration through your leadership in plans for our downtown. Which we'll go through in just a moment, the actual geographical area. Our job is to identify some priorities with projects to put in front of you where applicable, but also, which I'll continue to encourage, we welcome council's ideas for us to deliberate on your behalf. And that's an important part of our visit with you in chamber here today, which I'll end our presentation with and remind you of again, because we can come up with all the ideas in the world, but you're the ones speaking on the front lines to constituents and can help us with some feasibility or getting some knowledge appropriately. It's our job to inform the development of additional strategies or other planning and design work areas that we could possibly implement in the future based on recommendations we receive through your support and leadership and when deemed appropriate by the city. And then when needed, we provide the input about the design or approved projects using all of the way smarter brains in our world and in our area, but also across the country and internationally as well, depending on the project that we are encouraged or invited to seek. As we advance the slide, we will recognize that this, believe it or not, is the DARP area. And I think it's important every time we have a new committee member and every time someone sees this for the first time, they're surprised. I want you to recognize that we're looking at an overhead Google image of Lacombe, and the blue area is considered downtown Lacombe. And that does surprise many people because I think if you asked a layman what a downtown area was, you'd get the Flatiron Building and maybe a couple streets around. One of the things we have been working towards and may come to council with is the potential to shrink this area. The downtown area right now, which we are mandated to represent, is a very large area, which means funding and other models that may come in front of you that would then be appropriated to us should and would cover this very large area, which spreads that money and resources thin. And so one of the things we are looking at with your approval and potentially to put in front of you in the near future would be not at all to disrespect anyone in this area of downtown, certainly recognize that, but potentially when it comes to funding and the value of the dollar, if we were to put projects in place, we may want to shrink this area so that funding can be better allocated. That's something in the future, and I welcome your comments and questions on that. Before I hand it over to Chris for just a moment, we're going to first discuss a year in review, a couple of things that we've been working on, even old projects that have resurfaced, and then we'll chat about some of the amazing or exciting things that are coming up in the future.
Thank you, Joe. Pleasure to be here in front of you tonight. I just wanted to touch on our membership. We do have 12 citizen members, but our group is actually fairly diverse. We have business owners. We have a regular Lacomian like myself. I just live here. Very happy to be here. And we have people who are also members of other societies and other groups within town. So we have a good mix of voices, and everybody in our room has let's say, robust at time discussion. And we work very well together. It's been very exciting. Like I said, I've had to reapply for my position. It's been a real adventure. I've learned a lot about my community being part of this, and I look forward to working with our new group and our new people. We just brought on 2 new members at our last meeting recently, and yeah, I look forward to it. It's been a good adventure.
Thanks, Chris. I also want to recognize Councillor Proud coming on board after the election and being a part of our group. I think she would certainly be able to echo those sentiments. And we recognize, and we'll discuss here tonight, that not every decision made in our room, no different than made in this room, is agreed upon by everybody. And we have those robust conversations as well. And that's why we hand it back to you. The football's yours. So we're an advisory group and grateful and privileged to be a part of it. So let's move on quickly to the review. 49C, the buzzword of the decade. The construction was complete, and we had our ribbon cutting and grand opening. Thank you for those of you in attendance on September 27th, a gorgeous day. You've seen the pictures. It was the first iteration of the plaza plan, although this plaza is not the original plan of DARP. This plaza, as constructed and under budget, was able to finally showcase itself on a beautiful sunny day. And it gave us all an idea, including administration and behind the scenes marketing, the opportunities to take pictures so that we can start to convey this and do this again. So that is something I'll chat about here before we're done. The Heart of Lacombe project, in a moment you'll see, continues to be such an incredible highlight for our community. One of the greatest legacy projects I've ever had the opportunity to be a part of. For those listening online or for anyone on council that isn't aware, the Heart of Lacombe, which obviously is a nice metaphor for downtown, is the B in Lacombe on its side. And then of course the B in Lacombe is no longer silent. These are all sort of marketing iterations that came about in this brainstorming project that never were actually brought out, or here and there at media conferences. But there's a number of people, and this, the Heart of Lacombe, has been featured on social media so many times, and we're really proud of it. We've readdressed some lighting issues that work or don't work. We're really, really excited to work with Heavy Industries, the people who helped bring the Heart of Lacombe, the actual project, the infrastructure. They continue to be on our side, which is a really good thing because they use it in many of their presentations around the country as well as a featured element, which is sort of an internal way of marketing Lacombe to other people, and we're really proud of that. There's the Plaza project. We are going, at our next meeting on May 12th, we're going to walk the area and do an on-site visit for just an assessment. This is the very first winter of the Plaza, so some of the infrastructure and other things that engineering and Parks and Rec have taken care of, which we appreciate. One of the things I do want to recognize, while there's been plenty said about 49C, what it is when it's a roadway, which again is not the original iteration that DARP put forward. But this is a roadway that can be shut down for Plaza and for community events. One of the things that isn't noted very often, but I see it with my own eyes, is that big bulb out area not only helped in the safety concerns of downtown, which the past council would be aware of because they passed this, but also, like you, likely you see a lot of selfies, a lot of social media. I want to recognize that that was a tiny little sidewalk and photos were being taken in the crosswalk in the roadway, because that's a very social media corner in a social media world. The Flatiron Building is what it is. And so one of the things that this has done that doesn't get the air in the room for obvious reasons is that we've created a plaza area already without the roadway being shut down. Great plant life, which isn't available in that photo, benches and other things. So I don't think that gets the air it deserves, because I think we've saved lives that we'll never know we saved just by taking selfies on a sidewalk instead of a crosswalk. Thank you. Go ahead. This is the picture of the heart of Lacombe as it weathers. Interesting, we're 40-degree swing, 50 on a really good summer, 50-degree swing. So there was some recoding done. You may have noticed the original heart of Lacombe in black is now turned to more of a bronze color. That was because the weathering of -40 and +35. So we've had some major temperature swings that the heart has to endure, but it's doing it, and we love that. We are still assessing, and we'll bring back information as appropriate to council about crosswalks, the hearts that were painted on. Also through those 40-degree weather swings and roadways and tires and shoveling and scrapers, they get beat up. And so it may or may not be something we want to continue. We will continue to bring you that information and of course, welcome questions on it at any time. The umbrellas and decals, the decals, which you'll see here shortly, the umbrellas will continue to, you'll see them pop up here shortly as spring turns to summer. I want anyone listening or reading to recognize that the umbrellas are available for all downtown area businesses who want one at no charge and while supplies last. So if you're passing along to your constituents or on your own social media, or if you know a restaurant owner or someone in the food and beverage, there are some basic requirements necessary. Not everyone can have an umbrella, but that is easily documented and we can pass that along. Last year, we distributed 13 more. They do break, they do have windstorms and other elements. That's through no cost to the city. We want to thank the Echo Lacombe Association, Kim K, for her hard work to apply the decals and to distribute the umbrellas, but you'll see those pop up. But if you know of anyone that wants them, they can come to us on the DARP committee to get them. There's the decals. Again, you've seen those. Those are also available. We have a stack of them. Again, not funded by the city. We appreciate Echo Lacombe for bringing those to our attention. If there's a window that breaks or one got ruined or damaged or there's a new development, by all means, let us know. They are starting to blanket downtown over a 3-year term now. And we love when we see them and we believe the branding gets brought together and keeps people longer if you're of that belief too. So as we move into the next and the final segment of the presentation, we're going to chat 49C specifically. We want to bring to your attention a really exciting new project about downtown banners exploring a Remembrance Day theme along with the Legion and the Historical Society, the downtown umbrellas quickly again, and the storefront enhancement grant, which may, with your approval in the future, sit on your desk as an opportunity to move from the Echo Lacombe Association to DARP. Something that we would look for your guidance and leadership on in the future, but we'll chat about that at the end. So first we'll start with the 49C. The marketing name, I think about 3 or 4 council meetings ago, it was brought to this council to give the DARP committee approval to brainstorm some ideas. I just want to reiterate why we think that's important. 49C is the name of that street. We've checked into it, and while we can't find major significance, and we certainly don't want to disrespect any history, and we'll do that appropriately, but 49C is simply a number and a letter, and we believe, much like the Ice District in Edmonton and so many other marketed elements, that the visions of the original plaza idea and then this iteration of the plaza would come to a better light and be more popular, frankly, if we were to come up with a exciting or marketable term. Again, with your approval, we would bring a number of ideas forward. While we're on the 49C Plaza project, I think it's really important, and if I may for just a moment, pass along some of the concerns from DARP committee members past and present. And one of those things is many of the issues and erroneous information that social media and the door knocking that in your campaigns you found. I recognize this is an unpopular project for many people, but it's a popular project for others, just like any other topic of infrastructure. Also recognize that our advisory committee, through many, many hours and years of meetings and avails with appropriate people way smarter than me, put this forward to the past council, which is our mandate and our job, and it was passed. It was not passed in the original iteration that our DARP committee wanted. The plaza was originally, obviously with all the money in the world, we would have had it shut down, stamped concrete, stages, trees, and that was not to be a street anymore. That was going to be a plaza. It is not a plaza, it is a street. And I won't go into the past, and I'm recommending, as someone who's been on the committee for a very long time and as an advisory board, never mind infrastructure, one of my advisements to this council is to begin to change or at least explore the idea of bringing a positive narrative to our downtown plaza. There is lots of negative talk about 49C and whatever the iteration or marketing becomes. But if we're to maintain that and give it air, then 49C will never be what we need it to be. No marketing name, no marketing campaign, no social media can help us make this something that the very leadership of our community doesn't see. And I also want to recognize that I know all of you, except for Mayor Hibbs, weren't a part of any of these deliberations or meetings. I recognize that. And if we could go back in time, 49C may not be even something we look at, but it is. It's part of our downtown. And I believe we need a strong narrative from our leadership group if we are to make the mandate, which is to build this into a space for community dinners, for live events, for trade shows, for concerts, for attracting outside contests like we had many years ago with a concert that earned us reputation and branding. I'm not asking you to be in favor of a project you didn't vote for. I am asking that with your help on the committee, we can help make downtown a vibrant and welcoming space, and 49C, or the iteration marketing name that you're to come up with our help, can be that space. And that's sort of my advisement and my soliloquy on that. Thank you for listening. Let's move. And you're welcome to ask any questions on that. This is a really exciting project that was just recently brought to our attention, came up at the last meeting. You're seeing pictures from an Ontario community. I'm not sure where. And Chris, if you don't mind, I'm going to hand the floor over to you. You were at this meeting, but this is an idea that has been brought to us that the Legion and our friends at the museum, as well as the Historical Society, have brought to our attention.
Yeah, so forgive me, I was actually quite ill during this meeting and I had to chair it with Zoom, but and I don't remember, it's in Southern Ontario somewhere, and one of our yeah, I think you're correct, and one of our members happened to be doing their homework as we had an assignment to come up with some ideas that we could bring forward and brainstorm, and this was one of the things brought forward, and we think this would be an excellent way to honor our heroes and to work with other groups such as at the Legion with their 100th year. This year, 2026 marks their 100th year, so a good way, I think, to identify that.
Yes, and I recognize Councillor Contenti is you're the chair of the Legion board, and re-elections are coming up. So I'm also a Legion member. 88 fallen soldiers have already been identified from the Lacombe and Lacombe County area. 102 is possible. There are numbers and things that might be presented to you in the future. This is just a base level idea on this, essentially putting banners of our heroes, the same ones we honor maybe once a year on Remembrance Day, to be seen year round. As many communities are starting to do crosswalks or other elements, this would be something that we're going to, with your help and support, and I welcome questions on this, work towards, and of course, achieve potential funding opportunities that are also quoted in the email that I won't get into here today. So this is something that may be on our plate and then eventually on your plate in the near future. The Downtown Umbrella Project I've spoken about, so we can continue. Those are available now. The last thing that I want to mention before I wrap up and I invite your questions is that the Storefront Enhancement Grant, which comes up every April, businesses are asked, we have some funding from the Echo Lacombe Association to enhance businesses in a variety of ways, beautification in the downtown area. This project has always been under the purview of the Echo Lacombe Association, and Councillor Proud brought forward the idea of putting this under the DARP review, and potentially in the future, this wouldn't be this year. If it came to you and if this were passed, it would come in next year. But it would be something that downtown area businesses would then have a downtown area committee to make those decisions, as opposed to the Echo Lacombe. That is not something official that we have had any conversations with Echo Lacombe, but following Councillor Proud's idea, we think it's not a bad one or a good one, depending I say that with full respect, depending on a number of areas that we would have to be careful with. There are business owners on our committee. If someone who was a competitor applied for something, there would have to be a recusing process of other elements that we would have to consider. But we like this idea in general. So if this comes onto your agendas in the future, you would recognize that the storefront enhancement grant would just simply change hands in governance from ECHO potentially to the DARP committee. With that, I'll remind you that we respond to your vision and your direction. As mentioned earlier, we are an advisory board to council and created by city administration and council. So in other words, we're at your service. We would love if, and we recognize we have a liaison, a fantastic leader on our group, Councillor Proud. She's your liaison, and we know you have that opportunity to question her on the things that are actually happening. But I also, I know Mayor Hibbs has been to a meeting in the past. I would recommend or invite any of you, given your incredibly intense schedules, to join us for a DARP meeting so you can meet our team and then bring some of the visions that you have for DARP in our downtown as well. And with that, we commit to downtown like you do, and I open it up to questions.
Thank you for your presentation. Are there any questions? Councillor Span.
You mentioned potentially shrinking the DARP area. Did you have an idea in mind for what you would like to see it be?
No, I appreciate that question. Thank you, Councillor Span. We would, if that were to be an initiative that we think we should go towards with your approval, I'm not sure how that works in administration. I would talk to Director Hackett on that, whether that's a back and forth. We don't have a specific idea of what that would be, but should we be given permission to explore that, then we would have to come up with the reasons or why, which gets cut out and what stays in. So it's a fair question, but no, we haven't done any preliminary advice on that because that's not our prerogative just yet. Just an idea that came up.
Councillor Dyke-Slag.
Thank you for the presentation. You encouraged us to start having a narrative about 49C that could be different from the past, and I completely agree. I think step one is that name, so let's get that. And step two is getting it booked and getting that word out there and the place being seen. What more do we need to do or can we do to promote that usage of that space? Because as soon as you see a wedding there, others are going to say, oh,
Bingo.
I hadn't thought about having a wedding there, or whatever the event might be.
Bingo. Thank you very much. And I don't mind you jumping in here in a moment. I really appreciate you saying that. That's exactly what has to happen. September 27th was one day. It happened to be during an election campaign, which was difficult. Also happened to be during a tariff war. And there was a lot of negativity in our world. The sunshine was very positive and the pancakes were good too. You're absolutely right. Like any campaign from the ground up and coming from a marketing background, you need proof of performance. And what you're speaking of is proof of performance. When there's a wedding, other weddings will follow. When there's a downtown long table, which unfortunately, again, isn't in our downtown this year, those are the events. What more do we need to do? The reason I come forward with advice to consider positive narrative, and I'm saying that very specifically. I'm not asking you to think a certain way, but I think it comes from a leadership level and certainly from a city marketing level. We've gotten approval from communications already to sprinkle into the social media content 49C, no different than booking the LMC or booking ice times or pool times. So it's now part of the regular communique. So that's good news. What more needs to be done? I really believe, and I'm speaking also for our committee members, we need to speak more positively about it. The marketing name, you're absolutely right, Councillor Dyke-Slag, will be a huge improvement because at least we'll change the vision or potentially, like any marketing name, a rebrand. But I think it would really, really help if we had some positive commentary on what it is. And like my mom always said, if you have nothing nice to say, then potentially we don't say anything at all.
Councillor Dyke-Slag.
I will have positive things to say about using that facility. So we need to move forward. My second point, though, is the Lacombe with the bee heart. Is that a trademarked? Can it be used by schools, other places because it is identifiable. It is attractive. Is there a way we can promote that a little bit more? I'm even thinking work with the chamber, those sorts of things. So
Yeah, really great questions, Councillor Dykes. Like, thank you. We've actually had a couple of major meetings about this because the heart is being used. No, it's not trademarked. We did find out, thanks to Director Hackett and administration, that the cost is exorbitant to trademark. That is certainly something that this council may want to choose, but in lieu, that's not possible right now without the money. And therefore, we do have a policy on the DARP website of how it can or should be used. So that is available. However, we are seeing rogue businesses and nonprofits use the Heart of Lacombe. We are also seeing it used with permission in the sale of products. The problem then is a difficult one because the Heart of Lacombe can be put on a mug, a pair of socks, or a t-shirt and sold at a farmer's market. Without a trademark, there's nothing we can do about it, but all we have is the directive on the website. I'm glad you asked that question because what we don't want it to do is to end up on what would be deemed nefarious marketing materials. Lacombe is a location, so any group, conceivably, negative or otherwise, could use that heart on their paraphernalia. And you can see as much as it's positive, that could be really, really damaging for a city brand as well. And you're absolutely right. Just like the lure, the 5 of diamonds, which has no affiliation with the city of Lacombe, it has become an iconic symbol in marketing for city of Lacombe. The heart is all of a sudden doing that as well, which is a good thing until it's a bad thing. Great question.
I just have a couple of questions, a few different items. Regarding the boundaries, is that something that you're planning to come back to council with a suggestion as to what you're thinking there? Is that kind of the idea behind that item?
To be honest, this is an idea that continues to float around, and I apologize. I don't understand. I can talk to Director Hackett about this. I don't think it happens at this meeting, obviously, where a motion comes forward. I feel like we would need your approval to do that rather than to come to you. So I don't know. It's the chicken and the egg on this one, but
Very good. I just wanted a little bit of clarity so that if it's something that you're anticipating that council would set direction on, then I hear you and then I can address
I
that.
think that's fair. That's what we would like. Yes.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Thank you.
With regards to the storefront, a very similar idea. So again, you're probably looking for direction from council as to what we anticipate would be the best fit for that program going forward. And I only say that because if I'm not mistaken, I do believe that administration has already been tasked with bringing us back a review on that program as a whole,
Okay.
with potential options of maybe having, not one size fits all, which it currently is, but to have recognition of small storefronts versus big storefronts, et cetera, et cetera. So again, I will say that I understand that we will identify and then potentially come to DARP committee with an option. Is that a fair estimation from administration's viewpoint?
Yeah, that'll work.
Okay, perfect. And then finally, my last item is, I know originally when this committee was really struck and given a mandate, there was also a budget attached. And currently, I don't believe that there is any budget remaining, that it has been expended with the projects. So I'm only just saying that out loud for council's benefit in particular, that is something that we should be considering. I know that we have a strategic planning coming up, which unfortunately was delayed, so it's a little bit later than it was planned originally. But I do believe that there will be discussions during that time that will inform what it is that we potentially want DARP to be looking at. So I guess I would ask your patience for further direction on that regard, but it is on the radar. That is something that we will discuss.
I really appreciate you bringing that up and thank you for vocalizing that. I did leave that out. I think that's probably my words were, we're an advisory board. We can't do anything right now. We're not here to spend any city money and certainly not spend city money we do not have. So thank you for vocalizing that. It's a really important component of DARP. We are sitting we're sitting pat right now. So
Kind of in a holding pattern, right?
we really are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
so
we're brainstorming. We have lots of great ideas. We're trying to alleviate your administrative issues or other elements, and we welcome any directive you can bring to us.
absolutely. Well, thank you very much for this presentation. I don't think I see any further questions or comments. Oh, Councillor Proud.
I just had one more question, and thank you so much for the presentation. And I'm happy to be a part of the
Thank you.
DARP committee. In regards to strategic planning, would it be helpful to have suggestions, ideas, recommendations from DARP of projects potentially on the radar versus just kind of a generic discussion about?
I would suggest that you're a member of that committee, so you'll be privy to what some of the discussions are, so you can vocalize them at that time. I would say that that's fair. I don't think there should necessarily be a formal presentation because we're not asking that of any other body, but I do think that many people around this table did speak of investing in downtown, et cetera, and so that these potentially will surface as priorities for council for the next 4 years. So I would think in that manner that they could potentially make it onto the strategic plan. Councillor Span.
Just one final question for me, that the Remembrance Day hero banners that you were talking about, I think that's a really neat idea. What would the idea be, that those banners would be up year round, or would it just be for parts of the year around Remembrance Day?
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Span. So I'm delivering this information via email. So this came up at one meeting, and the idea that's been put forward, the proposal, came from our friends at the museum and also the Heritage Society, and of course the Legion. If this were to happen, it would be a year-round. These would be purchased banners. I even have full costs, or at least estimates that can be shared. And there'd be a shared cost or potentially a no cost, because it would be purchased by others, something we're exploring. But yes, the idea is this is not Remembrance Day only. Much like the cenotaph, it would be year-round. These, and much like a Memorial Drive, which we have as well. Memorial Drive in Calgary, Memorial Drives in many places, that may be where you choose. We don't even have that basis of where they would go, but I'm thinking that would be, that's certainly what we would look for your advice and leadership on.
Well, thank you. I think that about wraps up our questions. I do really want to thank the DART committee, both present members as well as past members. Very much as you said, though, you're an advisory board. You are citizens and business owners of the community. Your role is to brainstorm, come up with ideas, and potentially projects, and have those come to council. And it is council that makes the final decision on those. And I think that I'm saying this out loud again because I think it's sometimes unfair when there's that negative energy out in the community about anything. And ultimately what is happening is it was attacking, I felt that it was attacking the volunteer members of that board. And that really was upsetting to me, because it's not fair. I know that all of you participate as you do because you're passionate about this community and want to be able to contribute to it. And I do just want to say a really heartfelt thank you for the service that you do for our community.
It means a great deal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, I guess I will excuse you then.
Thank you.
Have a great rest of your evening. All right, for our final presentation of the evening, the Coleman District Recreation Parks and Culture Board, and this is in regards to the Community Builder Partnership Review specifically. I invite Ms. Renee and Manager Mitchell to the presenter table. Welcome. If you just want to turn on the microphone, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Mayor Hibbs and councillors. Tonight, the Lacombe District Recreation Parks and Culture Board Chair, Carly Rennie, and I are here to present the allocation of the Community Builder Partnership Funds from 2025. Overall, we had 6 programs and 5 events approved within the City of Lacombe and 4 capital projects. The total funds available was $100,000, $50,000 earmarked for programs and events, and $50,000 for capital requests or capital projects. The total funds requested was $105,233.85, and the total funds approved was $91,218. First, we're going to go in through the programs and events that were approved with a small description, including the amount of funds granted and the target audience and number of attendees.
So the first one we are discussing this evening is $3,000 that was awarded to Lacombe Museum's 2025 Light Up Lacombe on 49C. It was a pre-parade activity and to provide the community with cultural activities to help them celebrate the diversity of the holiday season while waiting for the parade to start downtown. There was 1,100 attendees, 350 in the Flatiron Building and 750 on 49C. It was an all ages audience that attended, and some of the highlights that we can discuss that you can see in the photos here was Indigenous storytelling in a teepee, maple taffy making, free hot chocolate, and live blacksmith demonstrations.
The next event was Lacombe Golf and Country Club's 100th anniversary community golf day. This was part of a huge amount of celebrations they had all throughout the year to celebrate their 100th anniversary. The Lacombe Golf and Country Club committee, or 100th anniversary day committee, was awarded $9,999. The event was to celebrate the 100th anniversary and provide non-members an opportunity to enjoy the Lacombe Golf and Country Club for a green fee of $19.25 to represent the year that the club was founded. 164 golfers and many more non-golfers came and enjoyed the grounds throughout the day. The target audience were adults and seniors, specifically non-club members, to bring them to Lacombe and highlight the Golf and Country Club in Lacombe. Some of the highlights were the Centennial Committee and several board members dressing in +4 attires and serving as event ambassadors throughout the day. There were also antique golf club displays showcasing the history of the game and special events at a variety of different holes throughout the course.
The next event we are going to discuss is the Lacombe Smash Bros. Esport Tournament. They were on their 3rd year of sunset funding, so they had $2,000 left in their sunset funding, plus we gave them an additional $3,667 for the change of their venue and their expansion because they didn't have the space at the LMC. This was the 3rd year hosting the tournament in Lacombe. And a chance for online friends to gather in person. Attendees from across Canada and the US were there. 450 attendees as compared to 151 attendees from the 1st year. The target audience is mostly youth. Some of the highlights were people meeting each other in person, building connections and excitement for next year. They plan to continue this event without city funding. Now that they've ended their sunset funding, and the tournament achieved global recognition as a C-tier event, meaning results contributed to an international ranking for players competing in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate.
All right, next we had Lacombe Museum and Ellis Nature Center's 4th annual Harvest Dinner fundraising gala. They were awarded $1,500. They had asked for $300,000, but as the event wasn't held within the city of Lacombe on 49C, the board decided to provide half the funding that was requested. It was a collaboration funding event to support the ongoing operations of both nonprofit organizations. And also to increase awareness of both organizations, benefit and highlight local producers and businesses in a farm-to-table experience. Overall, they had 102 attendees. The target audience was for community members and people outside the community who were there to support the both organizations through they had auctions and a few other fundraising events. One of the highlights was people meeting each other in person, building connections, excitement for other years, and getting to know the 2 nonprofit organizations that were hosting.
Okay, our 5th event that we're going to discuss this evening was Lacombe Museum's Dementia Workshop Programs, who were awarded $1,500 of the $1,500 they asked for. These workshops are focused on providing engaging and diverse experiences to seniors in care facilities who do not have access to a diverse range of experiences. These workshops are intended to provide quality of life services to individuals who do not have the capacity or ability to pursue them on their own. 185 people attended in total. Obviously, the target audience is seniors in care facilities with a special focus on those with dementia. And some feedback received was that everyone was so engaged. There were people who could name everybody in the photographs we brought or were reminded of memories by the artifacts.
The next event was the Lacombe Performing Arts Center Music in the Park and Community Showcase. They were granted $7,200. Their application consisted of two parts, the expansion of the program. So they were able to expand artist lineups to include a more diverse range of performers. They were able to rebrand Music in the Park with updated signage to attract new audience. They introduced print brochures with detailed descriptions of each performers. And the addition was of a community showcase or a pre-show, which highlighted local emerging talents for the first 30 minutes prior to the regular Music in the Park program. Their target audience was all ages, family, friends, and expanding the typical audience. Some of the highlights included the purchase of portable sound equipment, which they received through this grant, which is now allowing the Lacombe Performing Arts Center to showcase a variety of talent that are not already established with their own sound equipment, which had limited who they could bring in for the Music in the Park programs.
Okay, number 7 on programs and events was Alberta Minor Roller Hockey Association Lacombe's Roller Hockey Drop-In Program. We awarded them $1,871.18 to the penny. So this was to provide free, safe, fun, and inclusive opportunities to introduce organized roller hockey to Lacombe youth. Focus on skill development and building community connections. Support from the Alberta Minor Roller Hockey Association helped with organization, registration, and insurance. It was targeted to youth, obviously. So there was 2 age groups, 8 to 11 years old and 12 to 14 years old. There was 37 participants and it was completely volunteer run. And there was really great feedback and a welcoming environment for all children. Plans to participate in more tournaments in Red Deer and Edmonton and potentially host a tournament in Lacombe.
The next program was the Central Alberta Sports Club Grass Volleyball Program. They were awarded $3,200 out of the $9,500 that they had requested. This was a grass volleyball pilot summer program to provide accessible outdoor volleyball opportunities across Central Alberta during the summer months to introduce athletes to a new style of play. Overall, they had 219 youth participants with up to 800 attendees coming out to the tournaments. The target audience were youth ages 8 to 17, but also their families as well who attended the events. Some of the highlights included hosting tournaments at Michener Park, which brought people into Lacombe while showing off an alternative use to the park.
Okay, we'll kind of quickly go through this one because you guys have already heard about it. Not to say it's any less important, but we have already had a whole presentation on it. So we awarded $8,500 to the Lacombe District Ritsubitu Friendship Society 40th anniversary of twinning Lacombe and Rikubitsu, a joint event between Alberta and Japan twinned municipalities, conference and a celebration to mark 40 years of friendship between the two communities. The event will highlight this aspect of culture in Lacombe and bring delegates from Japan and all over Alberta. The target audience is conference registrants, officials, and dignitaries from Japan and Alberta. Planned events, as you heard already, ceremonial speeches, entertainment showcasing Lacombe's musical talent and local businesses, presentations, activities, highlighting some of Lacombe's attractions, the annual general meeting of Alberta and Japan twinned municipalities, and a free community-wide drumming performance in Lest We Forget Park at the Memorial Center.
The next project that received funding from the Community Builder Partnership Fund was St. Andrew's Church's Green Team for their 100 Trees project, which then is now known as Woodland Sanctuary. At the time they applied, it was called the 100 Trees Project. They received $2,500. This initiative was to plant 100 trees to mark the 100th anniversary of the founding of the United Church in Canada in 1925. Their vision was to create a natural forest ecosystem that inspires, celebrates, and makes a positive environmental impact. And the target audience was all ages and demographics. I don't have a slide for the next one, but the final funding for events and programs that came out of the 2025 Community Builder Partnership Fund was $12,611 in funding to the Lacombe and District Historical Society to support Lacombe Museum summer programs. This funding did not go through the typical Community Builder Partnership grant process, as it was approved directly through Lacombe City Council.
Okay, I'm going to power through all these capital projects too, only because we have a lot to talk about and we're trying to stay on time. So let's start. Capital projects that we have done or funded, I guess. Lacombe Fish and Game Association, construction of a playground at Len Thompson Trout Pond. The total budget was $75,000. We awarded them $9,999, and it was completed in the fall of 2025. Next up, we have Lacombe Kinsman Club's Powwow Kinsman Park, Popos. Sorry. Kinsman Park Enhancement Project. In celebration of the club's 75th anniversary, this project will fund a new accessible walkways in the park, a covered picnic shelter with concrete pad. The total budget was $46,096. Grant approved was $9,999. Groundbreaking is planned for the spring of 2026. Next up, we have the Lacombe Disc Golf Association, the completion of the last 9 holes in the Rosedale Valley Disc Golf Course. The goals, requested an additional $9,000 to complete the last 9 holes of the disc golf course that was started in 2023. Total project budgeted $72,994.79. Grant approval of $9,000 in 2025, in addition to the $9,000 approved in 2023 for a total of $18,000. Grand opening was in 2025. There's been really great feedback. Lacombe Junior High School, creation of 4 themed outdoor classroom gardens, a Terra, Aqua, Ignis, and Ventus, that will provide students with the community with engaging spaces to learn, connect, and grow, phased over 5 to 8 years. Phase 1 is a Terra Garden classroom that includes gardens with medicinal and edible plants, seating and tables, open and accessible to the community during non-school hours. The budget for this is $36,000. We approved a $9,000 grant, and work is to begin in summer of 2026. And I will pass over questions.
Fantastic, thank you. Are there any questions for our presenters in this topic? Councillor Goings.
Thank you, Mayor Hibbs. As the newly appointed councillor to this board, I just want to say how inspiring it is to see the real impact that these funds have made in the community. So thank you for your presentation and keep up the great work.
Councillor Dykeslag.
Thank you. When you have $9,000 left over, can you carry it over? Or is it a year-to-year grant and you have to spend it or you lose it?
Through Mayor Hibbs to Councillor Dykeslag, thank you very much for the question. According to the Community Builder Partnership Policy, any unused funds will go into the Community Builder Partnership Reserve Fund, which is typically accessed for larger capital projects. So if, for example, Len Thompson Accessible Dock they were able to access much more than $50,000 to complete the accessible dock over there, and that was through the Community Builder Partnership. Capital projects can be awarded up to 25% of the capital project.
Councillor DeBresser.
Yeah, thank you. Mayor Hibbs, yeah, similar to Councillor Goins' comments, thank you for the work that you do, reviewing applications, allocating the money. It does take the burden off council here and keeps our meetings streamlined. So definitely pass the thanks back to the board and your board members there.
I've had the very good fortune of either being involved with or attending, sorry. Oh, yes, attending almost all of the programming that we talked about this evening. And it's phenomenal, the scope, the breadth of what's being offered. And I also really want to give a shout out that at many times, these are actually youth that are coming forward or young people that are coming forward with these ideas. With regards to the disc golf, for example, I know that's a capital project, but again, that was the thought of somebody that's young in our community and they wanted to bring an opportunity for the community. And with obviously a lot of support and supportive funding, they were able to make that happen. And what an addition to our community. And there are many examples of that over the years, but I just really, I love this program. And I definitely echo the fact that we have a board that's willing to see that through fruition, because it is a significant responsibility to hear those applications, to be able to ask the questions, and to be so very responsible with, saying yes to a project or saying, oh, this project isn't quite ready yet. Can you come back with a little bit more information or try again next year, that kind of thing. So I really do appreciate the significant efforts that the volunteers of that board are contributing as well. And so if you would please pass that on, it would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Maybe one
Oh,
last
sorry,
question. if that's
sorry,
okay.
Councillor Span. Yeah, sorry.
Are there a lot of projects that you decline every year?
Through Mayor Hibbs to Councillor Span, thank you for that question. It really depends on the year. I actually brought the report. In 2025, there were three projects, sorry, that were declined completely because they didn't fit the mandate of the community builder policy. And so they didn't work. But it really depends on who comes forward and what the request is. But it's very unusual that there's a year where at least one project doesn't fit and the board hasn't had to make that hard decision to say no.
And maybe one follow-up on that. Do you get applications from different groups after you've already allocated all the funds?
Through Mayor Hibbs to Councillor Span, thank you. We have, but it really depends. We had in the past rolling deadlines where applicants were we didn't have strict deadlines, and that made it really difficult. So the board decided to have 2 intakes with an option for a third if funding was available. So we post those from the very beginning. And if they've missed, so for example, we have our second deadline coming up at the end of this month. And then if there's funding still available, there'll be another third intake in the fall. If the funding isn't available, then they have to wait until the next year. It's first come, first serve, like most grants are.
Thank you for your answers to that. This was an awesome presentation. Appreciated your time.
Thank you. Have a great evening. So that does conclude our presentations for the evening. That moves us then into requests for decision. We have 3 items in that category. The first is the 2025 financial information return extension request. And I have Director Thompson that will be speaking to that item.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Hibbs, and good evening, Council. I am before you today to humbly advise that due to a vacancy of a key position within the Finance Department, additional time is required to complete the city's year-end financial reporting. The vacancy of the Manager of Finance position in February occurred during a critical period for year-end reporting and audit preparation. And as a result, administration is recommending an extension to the city's financial reporting to maintain the quality and completeness of its financial statements. Alberta Municipal Affairs provides a formal process for municipalities to request an extension where exceptional circumstances impact the timely completion of audited financial statements and the financial information return. Provincial guidance identifies vacancies in senior finance roles, such as the case in Lacombe, as a valid basis for an extension request. Administration does not view extension requests as routine practice. I am happy to report that this capacity constraint is temporary. The recruitment of the senior manager of finance position has concluded successfully, with the new manager set to start on April 20th. In the interim, administration believes requesting a short extension is the responsible course of action to protect the integrity and reliability of the city's year-end financial statements. With that, administration is recommending that council authorize administration to request an extension from Alberta Municipal Affairs to June 12th, 2026 for the submission of the city's 2025 audited financial statements and financial information return. If there's any questions, council, I'm happy to take them.
Are there any questions for Director Thompson on this item? Does not appear to be so.
Just letting other people.
Councillor DeBresser.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Hibbs, through Director Thompson. My question is, yeah, definitely, I'm fully supportive of this. I know the amount of work that has to be done, and without this vacancy or with this vacancy. My question is, this is just one aspect of what happens at this time of year. Another aspect is our tax rate bylaws and our potentially pavement tax bylaw. And then subsequent to tax notices in May and whatnot. Would our tax rate bylaw not be coming in April? Would that be pushed back as well? And would we have to delay our tax notices going out?
That's a great question. And when we're short-staffed, we have to kind of triage what can be done and what can't be done. And this is one area where we felt needed more time so that the tax rate bylaw could come forward on time, so that the assessment notices can come forward on time. We also, if those who aren't aware, the city produces 4 year-end statements, one for the city, which is a complicated and the largest one. It does 2 for regional services commissions, in which the city is hired to manage, and then a 4th one for the library. And so those are 4 year-ends all running concurrently from our staff here in our office. So the only one impacted is the city of Lacombe's financial return deadline. So thanks for that question, Councilor DeBresser.
Any other further questions or someone willing to put forward a motion? Councillor DeBresser.
Okay, I move that council authorize administration to request an extension from Alberta Municipal Affairs to June 12th, 2026 for submission of the city's 2025 audited financial statements and financial information return.
I see no further light, so I assume that we're ready for the question. So I will call the question and please proceed to vote. That is unanimous. All right, that is that item. That will move us then to our second item, 6.2, Spray Park request for quote update. I believe I have Manager Mitchell. Yes, speaking to this item, I'll just let you settle into the presenter table there, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor Hibbs. Good evening again. Tonight, I am providing an update to the 2026 Spray Park Mechanical Life Cycle Replacement and Upgrade Capital Project and seeking Council's direction on funding options. As you may recall, during the 2026 capital budget process, Council approved $90,000 to replace the underground pit in the Spray Park with an above-ground mechanical shed to install an outdoor shower and relocate mechanical components, eliminating daily confined space entry and proactively protecting the mechanical equipment prior to further damage occurring in the pit. Administration received quotes showing the approved budget will come in at $105,000, which is $15,000 over budget. The contractor also provided a quote for constructing permanent washrooms as part of the same project for $110,000, but noted that completing the washrooms during this phase would save $15,000 due to shared excavation and utility work. This brings the total cost of the washrooms to $95,000 if completed now versus $110,000 or more if completed at a later date. The original scope of the project was only to include rough-ins for future washrooms, but not the washrooms themselves. Administration recommends expanding the 2026 project to include construction of permanent washrooms, which will result in the following. First, they will replace the current portable toilets, which are not accessible, lack change tables, and are cramped for caregivers with small children, especially if they have more than one. Second, this will reduce reliance on the Sportsplex lobby washrooms, which currently results in wet patrons entering the building and increased custodial needs. Third, this will remove the requirement for staff to monitor the lobby when the washrooms are open to the public on request, as the lobby is typically closed during those times. And finally, these washrooms will improve accessibility, usability, and overall experience for Spray Park families. Completing the washroom now avoids duplicating site work and provides long-term operational and user benefits. To proceed with the washroom construction in 2026, administration is recommending that council approves an additional $110,000 from the General Capital Reserve to expand the 2026 Spray Park mechanical life cycle replacements and upgrades projects to include the construction of the new washrooms. I'm happy to support council in your deliberations.
Do we have any questions on this item? Councillor Contenti.
Maybe just comment and a question if I don't cough myself to death. Yeah, I'm very supportive of this. Being in that kind of business, I understand about doing things now while things are being disrupted. Makes sense to me. Where is it situated in the, I know you probably don't have a slide for it, but at the Spray Park, where would those washrooms sit?
Thank you to Councillor Contenti through Mayor Hibbs. Right now, the mechanical pit is right outside. There's the double doors that go into the pool in the fenced area of the Spray Park. And there's a mechanical pit that has a lower fencing around it. We have to build the structure on top of that pit. And so if you see in the request for decision, it has the current mechanical building project, and then the washrooms would be attached right beside it, going out towards that access road where the schools are behind, closer to Father Lacombe. So it would still be completely encased within the fencing of the Spray Park. It would be lockable, closed at night, only open during Spray Park operational hours.
Okay, thank you. Just follow up. So it's not going to take up that much space for kids running around in that area. Right? We don't have to increase the Spray Park fence.
That's correct. There's currently no features in that area. It's just a concreted area right now. And there's currently 2 porta potties sitting in a little jutted out area, but it won't take away from the Spray Park area itself.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Councillor Span.
A few questions. When is the mechanical building and the pit retrofit scheduled to move ahead?
Thank you to Councillor Span through Mayor Hibbs. As soon as it's awarded, the groundbreaking will begin as soon as the ground has thawed. So it would be pretty immediate here. And then according to the quotes that we received, they are planned to have the work finished by June 1st, which is when we typically open the Spray Park. So barring any weather constraints, it might be slightly delayed, but if it goes according to plan, we advertise the Spray Park for opening June 1st, and that's when the construction would be completed by May 31st.
Is there a reason that this wasn't brought forward as part of the original recommendation? Maybe that's a question for administration.
CEO Halderson.
Thank you, Mayor Hibbs, to Councillor Span. Well, this is an add-on to original project. We were supposed to have just roughed-in porta potty for the expansion, and with the cost savings that are coming with this add-on, like it's going to cost more for the original building. But the cost savings would offset that cost for the porta potties, which benefit the whole project.
Isn't that a normal part of these projects where, you know, we see this is going to be needed to be done down the road, and then, you know, you do the rough-ins, but we always know that it's going to be cheaper to do it all now, right? So I'm just curious why that wasn't brought forward as part of the original scope of this, if we know that's typically how these things go. Because I'm on the same side as Councillor Contenti, where it's always cheaper to do it now, right? But it still ends up being money out of our pocket.
Director Hackett.
Thank you very much, Mayor Hibbs and Councillor Span. Since this was in my capital budget presentation, I feel that I should respond to the question. I'll be very frank, we had a brand new council and we didn't know how open you would be to spending money on a spray park, which is not an essential, but is a super great feature in the community. And so we did want to keep it affordable. And in the 10-year capital, we had identified, like if it was roughed in this year, then in the 10-year capital plan, we had identified bringing the washrooms in. But we were able to get the quote this year. And so if there is an appetite to spend it this year, there is a cost savings. But that's the reason it wasn't in the original last fall. Thank you.
Anything further, Councillor Span?
Yeah, I guess where my head's at with this is it's double the cost of the original project that we were anticipating. I'm open to moving ahead with doing it all at the same time, but I feel like we need to be planning ahead for costs like this. What I'm wondering is if we were to delay this project and bring it to the entire project, are there consequences of that, and be looking at approving the entire thing as part of our budget for next year? Would there be consequences of doing that? For example, with the mechanical building, the pit retrofit, are there any imminent issues with that?
Manager Mitchell.
Thank you, Mayor Hibbs. Yes, right now we are experiencing issues with the mechanical pit. It is currently caving in. It was identified 2 years ago. And so we looked at retrofitting like another steel case inside it, and that came up to about $75,000. And so that's why we expanded the project to lift the components up to meet industry standard, which is now for most spray parks, because just fixing that, it was going to cost almost the same amount as putting the mechanical structure through. Additionally, we have identified in the 10-year capital plan the replacement of several of the mechanical features and the spray features that have been updated since 2007 when they were first installed. But the immediate concerns is the pit that is caving in, and we're not sure that we're going to get another season out of it, which was why this became emergent in 2027 or 2026 versus the additional work that we've put into 2027.
Thank you.
Councillor Dykeslag.
I also am in support of definitely the pit and likely the washrooms. I have a question on the washrooms though. No one likes to hang out in porta potties. So with washrooms though, what is our schedule or extra staffing we would have to do for housekeeping so that people aren't loitering in there, using them inappropriately, those sorts of things?
Thank you, Councillor Dykeslag, through to Mayor Hibbs. We currently have, as part of the requirements of the lifeguards, they do a rotation. So anytime they're bumped off deck during the summer when the spray park is open, part of their rotation includes going out into the spray park, checking for anybody with first aid, checking for garbage, broken glass, that kind of thing. And right now that includes checking the porta potties. So this would function the same way. The porta potties were located outside the spray park 3 years ago, but because of vandalism and other issues, we moved them inside the gated area. And since then, that's been part of the aquatic staff job to be checking them, cleaning them, just as they do walk through the change rooms on their regular rotations off. That area is included during operational hours. And then they get a deep clean twice a day, and then if needed throughout the day.
Councillor Proud.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Hibbs. I'm definitely happy to see washrooms and a shower being added. As a parent of young children, we used to attend there, and my son being nonverbal, very tricky to get him to a washroom on time sometimes. So I'm thankful about that. Just a question, you kind of answered part of it already in regards to the mechanics. Now I'm just wondering about, are we lifting and moving something that's going to potentially not be working soon? I know last summer we had some issues with mechanics, and the word was that parts were coming from Europe. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but are we moving something that we're going to have to replace shortly?
Through Mayor Hibbs to Councillor Proud, we did have issues which resulted in a 45-day closure of the spray park last year with the main controller going down. That had to be fitted for us. It was, I believe, $18,000 of unexpected repairs. That's why we've identified replacing the key mechanical components, which is part of the 2027 once the pit is once the shed has been constructed. In the interim, we brought in our company that we work with called Automated Aquatics. They will take care of running all the new plumbing lines and moving all of the mechanical components. It won't be our staff or contractors who don't know that, and we have built in a contingency as well. So that's part of this project. The structure itself is not $110,000. It includes the work through Automated Aquatics, which are going to be doing the moving of the mechanical components up into the shed, which they have done quite a bit before, and they would be the ones replacing anything that was damaged or broken during that time.
Councillor DeBresser.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Hibbs. A couple of comments and then a question. Definitely, I agree with Councillor Span on doing things right the first time. Very happy to see the porta potties gone. It's a staple of our community, and we can't have the downtime like we did last year. My question is regarding, was the full scope of the project tendered, or was this like, hey, we're going to tender just the plumbing and then re-tender or re-quote? I'm just trying to get a sense of whether this additional quote is competitive, if that makes sense.
Yes, to Councillor DeBresser through Mayor Hibbs, we did put it out for quotation. So the Automated Aquatics was already, because they know the mechanical features, they were sole sourced for the amount of the mechanical specific work that they're going to do with the install of the filtration system and the controllers. But for the construction of the shed, or I guess shed building itself, that was put out through the proper process of request for quotes. We received 3 quotes back, 2 of which were complete to the standard and met the requirements. And then this was the lowest quote with a contractor that we've worked with in the past. So I'm hoping that answers your question.
Yeah, it does.
Anything further? No. Councillor Span.
Through Mayor Hibbs to Director Hackett, did you have a timeline for putting the washrooms in? Was this something that was going to get presented to council for next year's budget on the washroom side of things?
Through Mayor Hibbs to Councillor Span, we had always wanted to present the spray park for council's consideration in this past budget, because it was closed for 45 days in the hottest part of the summer. So it was very unfortunate. I don't recall in terms of when the washrooms, I'd have to look to Manager Mitchell for that, of when the washrooms, are they in the 2027? That's your question, yes?
Yeah.
Through Mayor Hibbs, yes, yes and no. I would say the second phase includes a lot of mechanical components and some upgrades to the features. It didn't specifically state the washrooms, but that was part of the idea, which is why we had asked for the rough-ins for it to be included in this project. So both quotes that were acceptable included the rough-ins with the first price of the shed, but we felt that that was emergent, and the other items were at the time $290,000 additional, and so that's why it was put into a phased approach in future which was right now in 2027.
Director Hackett.
Thank you. And I'll just add to that. I mean, certainly if council chooses not to go with the washrooms this year and would like to wait, and that's certainly a council decision. The $15,000 that we're requiring because the bid came in, I'm looking at Manager Mitchell, 15,000 over. That's the key piece that we wouldn't be able to proceed with the project without that 15,000. But the washrooms certainly is a timing matter for this year or a future, and we can continue to use the porta potties that are on site. Thank you.
Councillor Contenti.
Thank you, Mayor Hibbs. Just a question. You scare me when you call it a shed. I hope this is like a well-constructed 25-year, 30-year building. Without getting too much details, are we talking about prefab concrete, something that's going to last us a while, not like putting steel underground never made sense to me to begin with. So are we looking at something like that?
Through Mayor Hibbs to Councillor Contenti, yes, it's going to be cinder block, so it will match the outside of the pool building, and it will be, it's not a wood structure, it's a cinder block structure that is meant to, I should say, I use the word shed because very early iterations we called it a shed, but it's certainly grown in design and quality to much more of a building structure. So yes, it will be cinder block, and it's designed to last as long as the pool itself, I would say, or hopefully longer.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Councillor Dyke-Slag.
At this time, I'd like to make a motion that council approves the addition of the 110,000 from the general capital reserve to expand the 2026 Spray Park Mechanical Lifestyle Replacement and Upgrades project to include the construction of new washrooms.
Any further questions? Councillor Span.
I'm having a hard time with this one. I just think if our entire budget, we had about $350,000 that caused the increase in property taxes this year. Doing an additional 110 doesn't maybe feel like it in the scope of the entire budget, but it does have an impact on residents' bottom line. But the other part of me, and I'm maybe looking to get other ideas, but the other part of me just, yeah, if we're going to push off the washrooms, they almost have to be pushed off for a few years for it to make sense. I know from my family's perspective, we have a bunch of kids, you guys know that. We use the splash park regularly. We've never had an issue with just using the porta potties there. I know it's the same setup that they have at a lot of the parks in town here as well. I don't see a need for having, washrooms at all the parks we have, outside of the porta potties that are there. But yeah, I'm having a hard time with just adding 110,000, more than doubling the scope of this project without it going through the standard capital projects discussions.
Councillor Goings.
Thank you, Mayor Hibbs. To Manager Mitchell. I really appreciate all the extra workload for the indoor staff at the Sportsplex there with the bringing of debris in from the outdoor spray park. My question is, do our comparator communities have outdoor washroom facilities like the ones proposed here?
To Councillor Goings through Mayor Hibbs. I can't say for sure how many of them do. It's hit or miss depending on the community. Spray parks, some communities have multiple spray parks. They vary in different communities. Are they attached to a rec center? Are they off on a park by themselves? I would say I know of several that do have changing rooms and washrooms, and I also know of some that don't. So without the information in front of me, I don't feel confident to give you a concrete answer on that.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Councillor DeBresser.
Yeah, just one question. Thank you, Mayor Hibbs. Do we know what's in our general capital reserve? It's a question that comes up that for every budget deliberation that we kind of go through, we say, hey, do we have that amount? I'm assuming there's sufficient money in there. You don't probably have to grab the amount today, but I'm just making a point that when presenting an idea of an expanded scope of a project, Is all the general capital A allocated, and B, what's the amount kind of sitting there unallocated? That would help our decision making go a little bit easier, and not to confuse tax increases with general capital dollars. They two separate pots, so I just want to clarify that as well. But really, you don't have to search for the answer. I assume that there's the money in there, but just for future reference, that would make our discussions a little bit easier. Saying, hey, we've got $600,000-$700,000 unallocated in the 10-year capital or something. But yeah, it's not really a question, but just a future will make our discussions a little bit easier.
It does appear that Acting CAO Halderson does have a comment at least to make on that, so I would invite you to go ahead and do that.
Thank you, Mayor Hibbs. Mayor Hibbs to Councillor DeBresser. Yeah, we do have enough money in our capital reserve to fund this fund.
Councillor Contenti.
Thank you. Mayor, it's just from Councillor Span. I understand where you're coming from. I too would not want to spend any money that we don't really need to. If we can cut somewhere else, I think we really look at that. But I think this is one of our only real showcases for children and families, families with small children and older children too, that use that facility. And I think based on a lot of the talks I had when campaigning, is like they really appreciate that, and we need more things like that. So I don't know if that helps you, but it's just one of the areas I think we need to consider when allocating funds. And if we can cut somewhere else, I'm all for that.
Thank you. There is a motion on the floor. I am going to call the debate closed. We will move to our vote. I will call the question. Please proceed to vote. And that is passed with 6 in favor, 1 against. Councillor Span votes against. That moves us then to our third item under request for decision. I would invite Manager Brown to come and speak to this item, please. This is our 2026 Capital Works update.
Good evening, Mayor Hibbs and members of council. Many of you have seen me present before in my role as acting manager, planning and development, but tonight I'm sitting here as my previous role of engineering manager, since Director Thompson had to step out early just to support Project Manager Brown. For those of you who have not met Project Manager Brown, this is his 3rd construction season with the City of Lacombe, and he is in charge of the majority of the capital works programs that the city delivers. And he's here to update you on the 2026 Capital Works program. So with that, I'll turn the floor over to you.
Thanks, Manager Mitchell. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for having me here tonight. I'm here to provide an update on the 2026 Capital Works program. Specifically, I'll review the tender results and seek council direction on the next steps. The Capital Works program delivers annual renewal of city infrastructure. This includes underground utilities such as water, sanitary sewer, and stormwater, as well as roads, sidewalks, and other surface improvements. The scope of the annual program is informed by several asset management plans, including but not limited to the Roads Asset Management Plan, Crosswalk Improvement Plan, Water Asset Management Plan, as well as operational input and professional judgment. The Capital Works program currently follows an 18-month delivery cycle. Some key milestones include May to July of the year prior, project scope confirmation, desktop review and budget development. July to January of the year prior, completion of detailed design, survey, closed circuit television or CCTV inspections, geotechnical investigations, shallow utility coordination, and tender preparation. January to March of the construction year, tendering and bid evaluation. March to April of the construction year, if required, council review of potential scope or funding adjustments. May to September of the construction year is the construction period. Administration is currently in the process of procuring a new general engineering services agreement in 2026. As part of this process, administration is considering implementing a new capital delivery cycle with greater emphasis on upfront multi-year planning. This would allow inspections and investigations be completed multiple years in advance, reducing the risk of scope and budget changes following tender close. The 2026 Capital Works program was tendered in 2 separate packages. Package A includes all planned work for 2026, excluding 58th Street. Package B includes the 58th Street project only. This approach allowed administration to evaluate the 58th Street project independently. Package A represents a majority of the 2026 Capital Works program. Based on tender results, administration expects this package to be delivered within the approved budget and recommends proceeding with Package A in 2026. Sorry. Package B, 58th Street, presented several challenges identified through detailed design. The proposed west sidewalk conflicts with an existing ATCO gas line. Due to steep grades in the corridor, multiple retaining walls are required. The excavation and sidewalk installation would not meet ATCO's minimum depth of cover requirements, which triggers a mandatory gas line relocation. Under the city's franchise agreement with ATCO, they may take up to 1 year to complete utility relocations at their costs. As a result, the project was tendered as a provisional item with construction scheduled for 2027. CCTV inspections identified conditional issues of the sanitary sewer. Based on the observed condition, full replacement is the recommended replacement strategy over spot replacements as originally budgeted. Further investigation also identified an asbestos cement or AC water main is located in close proximity to the proposed sidewalk alignment. This water main has an estimated 10 to 20 years of remaining service life. Sidewalks typically have a service life exceeding 50 years. Constructing the sidewalk now would likely require premature removal and replacement of concrete. To explore whether the sidewalk could be delivered at a lower cost, administration's engineering consultant completed an options analysis where several alternatives were reviewed. The first option was constructing the sidewalk on the east side of 58th Street. To make this option continuous, the sidewalk would need to extend from Sini Trail to 50th Ave, requiring relocation of multiple telecommunication pedestals and resulting in significant additional concrete costs. The second option considered was narrowing the roadway to avoid retaining walls and the water main installed later through directional drilling. This option would reduce the width of a major collector roadway, eliminate on-street parking on one side of the street, and still require future removal and replacement of the concrete sidewalk at the water service connections when replaced. The third option was an alternating sidewalk alignment to avoid conflicts with the water main and retaining walls. However, the ATCO gas line relocation would still be required, and the alignment would not provide a continuous pedestrian route, requiring pedestrians to cross a major collector roadway multiple times. Administration completed the tender process, and the lowest qualified bidder is TJ Paving. The combined construction bid for Package A and Package B is $4.22 million. The next 2 graphs displayed on the screen represent tables 1 and 2 of your report. When soft costs such as construction engineering, inspection, and the 2027 engineering design and the road condition assessment are included, administration is projecting an $885,000 funding shortfall if both packages were to proceed. This graph displays a summary of the approved budgets and total cost by project. Package A remains within budget. Package B drives the shortfall. Based off these findings, administration recommends to award Package A of the 2026 Capital Works program to TJ Paving and defer the 58th Street project Package B to a future Capital Works program. Package A includes the remainder of the 2026 planned work and can be delivered within the approved budget. As for Package B, the detailed design phase identified more extensive underground infrastructure constraints than were anticipated at time of budget development. While the 58th Street project was initially advanced to deliver a sidewalk connection, further investigation demonstrates that constructing the sidewalk independently would likely result in premature disturbance of long life surface infrastructure. Administration has concluded that the sidewalk should be constructed concurrently with the full replacement of the associated water and sanitary infrastructure. Deferring the project allows the work to be planned, funded, and delivered as a single coordinated renewal closer to the end of the underground asset's service life. This approach maximizes life cycle value and minimizes future disruption. If the 58th Street project is deferred, approximately 1.7 million of the approved 2026 capital budget would remain uncommitted. Subject to council direction, these funds may be allocated to future capital priorities or considered in a subsequent capital program. With that, administration is here to support council in their deliberations.
Thank you for your presentation. Do we have any questions on this item? Or anybody prepared to make a motion? Councillor DeBresser.
Don't worry, always want to be the first one to jump in. Thank you for the report. Thank you for the detail in there and how it was easy to understand. I know there was a lot going on in there with different underground things, and definitely disappointing knowing that we're not going to get a sidewalk anytime soon down 58th Street. I see people walking along there, along the agricultural grounds every day, all day. However, it makes sense to me. My question is, TJ Paving, have they done work in the city before? That'll be the first one, then I'm probably going to follow up.
Thanks, Councillor DeBresser. Councillor DeBresser through the mayor. Yes, TJ Paving successfully completed our 2024 and 2022 capital programs in the past.
Perfect. Just to follow up, considering the deferral of 1.7 million, I think, to a future year, and this might be a question for acting CAO, is there a need for a pavement tax this year?
Acting CAO Halderson, I think that would be a fair one for you.
Thank you, Councilor DeBresser. Through Mayor Hibbs, we'll have to get back to you on that.
Would it be fair to just say that if the project is being delayed anyways, that we still need the reserve to build up to be able to accommodate that project? I see the light is on at the presenter table. Comment?
If I may, Mayor Hibbs, through to Councillor DeBresser, the majority of that work actually was underground work, not road work, and sidewalk, so active transportation work. So while there will be some road cost savings, that majority of that what was the number? One for the 58th Street project? 1.7 million dollars is not actually from the road reserve.
Anyone prepared to make a motion? If there's no questions, Councillor Goings.
Thank you, Mayor Hibbs. I can make that motion. I move that council directs administration to award package A of the 2026 Capital Works Program to TJ Paving Ltd, deferring package B, the 58th Street project, to a future Capital Works program.
Very good. Any other comments or questions on this item? Does not appear to be so. I will go ahead and call the question. Please vote. And that is passed unanimously. Thank you. So that does move us then to section 7, which is notices of motion. Councillor Dyksdag has brought forward 2 notices of motion for us to be read into the agenda in preparation for a future meeting. I would invite you, Councillor Dyksdag, to read out the first motion at this time, please.
Thank you. The first notice of motion, I would like to request that the mayor write a letter to the Government of Alberta on behalf of the City of Lacombe residents to advocate for the Government of Alberta to pause implementation to the recent changes to the Assured Income for Severely Handicapped Act and the Alberta Disabilities Assistance Program, and encourage the Government of Alberta to undertake a consultation process with applicable stakeholders.
And just for clarity, the intention is to have that debate at our next meeting.
Correct.
Okay. So just for the public, in case you're wondering what's going on here, this is just a tool where a member of council can bring forward something that they wish to debate. It can't get brought forward in one meeting and also be debated. We require a notice of motion, and so that is what's happening this evening. So that takes care of motion number 1. I would invite you to then read out motion number 2 as a notice of motion.
Thank you, Mayor Hibbs. Motion number 2 is I move to request that the mayor write a letter to the government of Alberta on behalf of the City of Lacombe residents to express disappointment regarding the recent provincial budget announcement, which provides only status quo funding for the Family and Community Services known as FCSS.
Very well, and same for this motion. The intention is to debate this at our next council meeting.
Yes, thank you.
That is correct. Okay. All right, that is notice received. That will move us then to our final portion of this evening's agenda, which is our in-camera, our non-public portion. Just prior to moving into in-camera, I will just read out that we have the next 3 meeting dates set as April 13th, April 27th, and May 11th, all of those being regular meetings of council. I would take a motion to move us into camera. Councillor Dykeside.
Oh, my mic was still on, so that was handy. I move that we go in camera at 7:20 p.m.
The motion is that we move in camera at 7:27 or 7:20, sorry. I will go ahead and call the question. Please vote. And that is passed unanimously. There we go. So yes, this concludes the public portion. And so we now move into a private session. So yes, if you could excuse